What do you got going? What's this Shock and Awe DVD thing you got?
It comes out like any minute now. It's from last year's tour. Shot it in Seattle on show 51 of the tour, and it's just a document of last year's tour. It's just me on stage on my own, talking, telling stories about where I just been, and those shows I've been doing for about 22 years. And now, once the tour, we make a DVD now.
See, that's why he goes to these places. He gets all this info. He goes on stage and talks about it.
Yeah, it's you're more spoken word, right? Although there's definitely a lot of comedy in what you do.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of funny stuff. I mean,
you don't want to commit to the comedy thing officially, or what?
What, like as a stand-up?
Yeah, why not?
And have to tell dog jokes and stupid non sequiturs, but but I like my wife though, and all that kind of corny crap.
No, you don't have to be a bad stand-up. You could just tell. You could be a good stand-up. Richard Pryor didn't exactly do dog jokes and bad non sequiturs. He also spoke the truth and talked about his life, and he did stand-up.
Yeah, Bill Hicks had a point of view with his comedy. Whether you agree or disagree,
and they're great. But and I've been checking out Richard Pryor when you guys were like -8 years old, but. Those guys are heroes to me. I just don't want to be in a comedy club being on the comedy circuit, and when I want to talk about homophobia or something that's serious and have some guy throw his drink at me.
Well, you don't worry about the reaction, though. You got
an ear. So that's the problem there.
If you're talking about it, there's definitely a risk in a comedy club because you also have to take what it is and express it and somehow find humor in the situation. And,
absolutely. I respect comics. If someone said, go do an hour at a comedy club tonight, I'd be terrified.
And I was a homophobic child, and in kindergarten I wouldn't even skip to my loo.
And how much do you make a week doing stand-up?
Not much.
Well, we have Jay London.
Working at it, because it sounds like it's working for you. I mean, if that's your... If you walk on stage and that's your first line, I think you're going to be eating tuna casserole for a long time.
Well,
you
actually,
still live with Mom, or are you moving out now? Are you thinking about it?
Actually, we have Jay London in studio. He was on Last Comic Standing. Very funny comic, actually. He's playing Caroline's this weekend. And then we got Jim Norton, who does the radio show with us, who's very funny.
Last Comic, was that Comedy Central?
Last Comic Standing was on
NBC.
NBC.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Well, you've been all over the world. Where's your favorite place to go?
Well, besides America, I like Australia.
Why Australia?
Just amazing country. People are very friendly. It's very beautiful. Food's good. The women are beautiful. It's very clean. Takes a while to get there.
Aren't they a little uptight about content?
Cool once you get off the plane.
Aren't they a little uptight about content? They seem to be a bit more uptight than Americans as far as content is concerned.
Well, there's elements of Australia that are very conservative, like here or anywhere else, but the people are pretty fun-loving as far. I've been there 26 times, and I don't know, they like the hard rock, and they come to the talking shows, and they seem to be pretty straight-up people.
What was there was one spoken word thing you did I caught part of. What was the part where you were talking about something about being on, vomiting and being drunk and sick? Puking in the toilet or something like that. It's been a while, and I honestly don't remember it.
No, I've been drunk about 3 times in my life. I probably threw up when I was 17 from alcohol, but I was kind of like the 3 Michelob, I don't like it anymore kind of guy, so I don't know if I got any puking drunk.
Wasn't it? No, maybe it was you were sick. I remember something in one of your spoken word things about being sick and being wrapped around a toilet.
I was probably, at one point... I probably, usually about once a year, my body kind of gives out, and I just shake, rattle, and roll for about 24 hours and puke and sweat. And that was in Sweden a couple of years ago, where I told the story about the article I read in the newspaper about a man who sued Starbucks because he apparently crushed his penis inside one of the men's room toilets.
Yeah.
And I think that was bundled up in the same story as hugging the toilet in Sweden, because I think in my vomitous reverie, I tried to actually recreate the accident to see how he could be litigious, and I couldn't do it. I guess I'm just not that well gifted.
Yeah, the toilet seat slipped to the side and squished his nutsack between the toilet and the seat.
That's classic.
I mean, you know what? You can go online and actually find a lot of the legal paperwork on that. Some girl sent it to me. It's pretty great.
That's good reading.
Well, it's interesting if you don't have a whole lot going on.
All right, let's say hi to Brad in Nashville. Brad, what's up?
How's it going, guys?
We got Henry Rollins on the phone.
Henry Rollins, you were listening to Richard Pryor when we were like minus 8 years old? How cool are you?
That nigger's crazy. Like, my mom gave it to me when I was like 8 or something, and my mom was pretty progressive. And I remember I went to go see that performance film. That was basically, where that album came from. And I remember walking out of there.
Which one came from That Nigger's Crazy?
A lot of that stuff. Just a lot of the stuff from that Live at Sunset Strip. Just like that all that classic stuff where, All American Nigger, That Nigger's Crazy. A lot of
Bicentennial Nigger, you mean?
Huh?
Bicentennial Nigger.
Bicentennial
Not
Nigger.
All American Nigger. Yeah. Oh, no, I know you're saying the Live in Concert, which was filmed in Long Beach in 1979, was taken from Wanted, which was That Nigger's Crazy was kind of 1971 in the Improv in New York City. He filmed something called Richard Pryor Live and Smoking. A lot of that material eventually made its way onto That Nigger's Crazy, but it actually, not the reverse was true. The CD, the tape came out years after it was actually filmed, but it came out better. It was actually better once it was on tape than it was in the original film, which bombed. It wasn't released until 81 by Blum Productions because Pryor was already a star by then.
Yeah. Well, I saw it in D.C. when I was in high school.
Henry, you know what just went on, right?
Huh?
You know what just went on. I think you like Jim Norton is probably the biggest Richard Pryor fan ever. And when you said that you were listening to Richard Pryor albums when we were minus 8 years old, I think it really got to him.
Oh, really? Did I insult the guy?
No, not at all. I felt it was a bit pretentious, but no, it wasn't insulting.
No, I'm just saying, I'm down with comics, respect comics. Lenny Bruce, I was listening to the records before I even understood what the hell he was talking about, and then I got older and I kind of started getting to it. But all that stuff, Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, these guys were huge to me. So I'm not, what I'm trying to say is I'm not in any way disrespecting comics or comedy just because I don't go and do a thing at the comedy club. It's these guys. Lenny Bruce died for a lot of our constitutional rights, in my opinion. Yeah. And Bill Hicks was of the strength where such an early death seems to me, it almost smacks of conspiracy. He was that effective to me, where you can almost buy the conspiracy idea that someone just wanted to shut him up for good. So all I was saying is I respect these guys. If I rubbed you the wrong way, man, I'm really, I guess I rubbed you the wrong way.
No, it was only when I mentioned comedy, I asked stand up, and you're like, oh, should I do some like dog jokes? So it was kind of like I figured that was kind of a jab at comics, and then I mentioned Pryor.
Yeah,
like,
okay. I would hate to be put in that box where like 1, 2, 3 make them laugh. Like one time I had to do like a 5-minute thing on like Penn and Teller. They said go out there and do 5 minutes. I don't know what you're talking. I was terrified. I said, can I do an hour? Can I just be myself? And they went, no, come on, it's a show. Go out there. And, those guys can do it. I did it, but it felt like I was a dog wearing a hat at a party. I just felt really canned and, kind of put up there.
I really like the spoken word thing. I got a lot of your stuff, and I enjoy it.
Definitely. I mean, I just would rather not have the pressure of, 7 seconds, bang, 7 seconds, bang. I'd rather, because a lot of stories I tell, they're not funny. I'm
a big fan of storytelling in general. Like when Richard Pryor used to tell his stories, and Jim Brewer, he's been on our show a lot. I like his storytelling.
I like about Richard Pryor, Opie.
Huh?
What do you know about Pryor? Shut up.
Well, back in 19. No, I'm just a fan of the storytelling comics. Where it's
Yeah, the anecdotal stuff to me was always the best. Like all those old Warner Brothers records of Bill Cosby, like Revenge and all those. I got from my stepbrother. He gave them to me when I was like 6 or 7, and I thought Bill Cosby just made kids records. I thought they were just for like an afternoon special thing. And like that Revenge album. I think I had a freaking seizure when I first heard that.
Yeah.
It was like the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life.
Cosby is a great comedian. Like I'm not a fan of his, but I do respect him as a comic, and I acknowledge how great he is. My only problem with Cosby is when you take, like you mentioned, Lenny or Pryor or Carlin. These guys express opinions and kind of speak through their work, and it kind of bugs me that Cosby doesn't do that.
Safe. He did clean humor that could be on Carson or could be in at a bar mitzvah. But he had great mic technique. the way he would overload the diaphragm to make the voices go low. Right. And but then you hear what Lenny Bruce is doing at the same, like when he was, towards the end of his life, and it's just, take the paint right off your car. The truth this guy's dropping, like all the, the recording Zappa made at Berkeley is just insane. All the Phil Spector stuff. I just got that box set that Wilner put together. I haven't had a chance to hear it yet.
My problem with Cosby is, like, it's like now he comes out and says all this stuff, like, about the black community, which is fine, but it's like now he comes out and he goes, well, I just want to say this. It's like, well, that's your job as a comedian for the last 35 years. You should have been saying it on stage as a comic. Why would you do one type of an act, which is supposed to be truthful and based on your perceptions, and yet now this is the way you really, you know what I mean? That's what kind of bugs me, is the inconsistency.
Yeah, well, I find him really uninteresting. I mean, he's became, to me, just a kind of a grouch.
Yeah.